On the back of every Criterion Blu-ray, DVD, 4K, it reads, "The Criterion Collection, a continuing series of important classic and contemporary films." That's what I feel represents Criterion the most. These films are not only supposed to be good, but important. And in today's video, I will talk about 10 more essential Criterions that you should have in your Criterion collection. That is not only good to great, but they're all very important. This time, there's a gimmick though. They are all going to be noir films. That's right, neo-noir Criterion Edition. So strap in, light up a cigarette, and drink some coffee, and stay away from the femme fatales, because this video is about to get dark. So first up, we're going to do spine number 137. It is directed by Mr. Alfred Hitchcock, and the film is Notorious. Notorious stars Ingrid Bergman and Cary Grant. And what makes this film much more interesting compared to other noirs, besides it's made by debatably the greatest filmmaker of all time, is it's from the femme fatale's point of view. Ingrid plays the main character, and in all intents purposes is the femme fatale. She is hired by Cary Grant to infiltrate her ex-lover's organization, pretending that she still loves him. And to do that, she is a femme fatale. And it's kind of like this cat and mouse with her and Cary Grant. And it's amazing, it's beautiful. It has the very famous shot where the camera starts over here and ends all the way down at this key. I don't know how Hitchcock did it. I don't know how his people did it, but it's amazing, amazing shot. This film is just so interesting because it's not a standard formula of the detective film, the person on the run film. No, it is a femme fatale film. She's the main character, and this is the femme fatale film. So if you're a Alfred Hitchcock fan and you've never seen Notorious, you owe yourself a favor to check this one out. Great film, Notorious. This is technically a 2-for-1. It is Ernest Hemingway's The Killers. Actually, technically 3 films on here. You got the Robert Siodmak film, and you got the TV version, Don Siegel, that stars John Cassavetes and Lee Marvin. Very interesting. But I'm going to mostly talk about this version. It's a amazing noir that is about this guy who dies, and it's about these detectives finding it out. And so the story is told through people talking, but it's told technically not in chronological order, so which was very novel at the time. Of course, there are some films like that, like Citizen Kane, but obviously this isn't Citizen Kane. This is The Killers. And Ernest Hemingway's The Killers. It's a unique take on the detective film, right? At the same time, nowadays it may be, Trout, it's about detectives going and asking people questions, right? Okay, how did this happen? What happened here? Can you tell me about him? But when you slowly learn about the man who was killed and his life, it just becomes so interesting. And in the Don Siegel one, who, if you don't know, Don Siegel is the Dirty Harry guy, it's from the killer's perspective. So it's, the name is apt. And it's Lee Marvin, who is like this old, aging killer, and he has this young killer with him who is like obsessed with milk, and it's kind of a twist on the film noir genre. That would be considered a neo-noir technically. And John Cassavetes plays the man that dies. Cassavetes is one of the greatest filmmakers and actors of all time. The third version of this film is technically the student film of one Andrei Tarkovsky, and it's like a 20-minute film of the beginning where they go to, it was like a diner, and that's where the killing takes place, in the diner. It's all right, but since this is mostly about the noir, the original one here is an amazing noir film Underrated. You should check it out. If you haven't, you should get it. Is Spine number 224, directed by Mr. Samuel Fuller, and that is Pick Up on South Street. This is just a breathtaking film. It's about a robber, pick up a pickpocketer, but this film is breathtaking. The wonders that Samuel Fuller does. I don't know why every film doesn't look like this film. He'll just have the camera just like this, and it just like bobs and weaves out of the, closer and backs away from the characters. And I think that alone is worth watching this. But, noirs are interesting because you're not going to get too much different, right? When you watch a horror possession film, it's a horror possession film, Noirs are noirs, and I love them for that. This one makes it unique is it is beautiful. It's from 1953, only 80 minutes. And again, it's just about a pickpocketer and this woman. And this beautiful opening sequence when they're on the train and, you have the camera up on the woman. And then you just have the guy with his, on the newspaper, slipping in. This was this was influenced by the French film Pickpocket. I think so. I think that came out first. Or the other way around. I'm not sure. But if you're into the crime noir where, the main character is essentially a bad guy, check this one out. Now, this next one is a little more nuanced. And again, these are essential films. There's a few other films in the Criterion Collection with this filmmaker. I'm going to tell you the filmmaker. It's Billy Wilder, right? And you can almost say all his films are essential, right? Especially if you're talking about noir. Billy Wilder essentially wrote the book of the film noir, or as Martin Scorsese called it, just movies. But he really, with one film, which is not on the list, so I'll just say it, Double Indemnity. I'm not talking about Double Indemnity, but it's not the first noir, but Double Indemnity is basically the first noir. So if you want that out, Double Indemnity, where is it? It's right here. This is not the movie I'm talking about, but if you don't want to count this next one, but Double Indemnity, an extra bonus one, here it is. But the film I am talking about is a little more nuanced than Double Indemnity and less talked about, starring Mr. Kirk Douglas. If you watched my last essential Criterion list, I already talked about him. He's the big boss to Michael Douglas's Solid Snake. And this film is Ace in the Hole. And this is about exploitative journalism. And you'll see this for years to come. What was that? Nightcrawler. This is basically the original Nightcrawler. You got Kirk Douglas, who is this big-time ace reporter, and he just wants a big story, and he just wants to work for the big fancy newspaper and make lots of money. And he stumbles upon a big story where this guy is stuck in a cave. And instead of helping this guy out, he's like, I'm going to exploit the heck out of him, and when he can get out, I'm going to prevent it. And, essentially, this is a story about a bad man that doesn't really commit crime. This isn't a criminal like a gangster or a pickpocket. No, this is an everyday guy committing murder almost, basically. And the story is beautiful. Kirk Douglas does an amazing job in this film. And I think it's essential, right? Double Indemnity. You want to say 2 for 1? Here you go. Here's a 2 for 1. Double Indemnity and Ace in the Hole. You get an extra one. Double Indemnity, like I said, OG noir. You got The Maltese Falcon with John Huston, and then you got Double Indemnity. Those are the origins of the noir genre. So you got the OG femme fatale right here. Billy Wilder, just an amazing screenwriter with a James M. Cain book, adapting the book, which people thought that, oh, if you read, Double Indemnity or The Postman Always Rings Twice, it's teaching people how to murder. So that's how, that's the hard boil side. But the noir side to this is, you got a guy who's teaming up with the femme fatale here, he's an insurance salesman, and they do an insurance scheme, right? He's going to kill the husband, and they're going to get the money. And, stuff happens, right? But really, it starts out with lust. The salesman has lust for this wife, but really he does learn to love her. And when he is betrayed by her, it does hurt. So I think that's the core of noir is emotion. The men are very emotional. The women are very emotional when they're the main character. Like in Notorious, she doesn't want, Ingrid Bergman doesn't want to do what she's doing. She wants to be with Cary Grant, but she has to do it. Even if Cary Grant doesn't like it. Even though he asked. More on that. But yeah, noir is very emotion driven. I always said that, especially these classic ones, right? These classic noirs are emotional journeys, emotional melodramatic dramas. Double Indemnity and Ace in the Hole. Again, these noirs genre, this next one, it's not just a box, right? So it's not cops and robbers or gangsters. It is, news reporters, insurance salesmen, which is basically a detective, right? Edward G. Robinson does a great morally person in this film who is famous for being Little Caesar, but he plays like the moral center of the film. And great narration and great explanation for narration, too. You don't really see that. But again, this next film isn't, a cops and robbers film. It's The Sweet Smell of Success. And the director was Alexander Mackendrick. It stars Burt Lancaster and Tony Curtis. And Burt Lancaster is, one of the greatest actors of all time. He's got several films in the collection, several noirs in the collection. This film script is, it's basically alien language. Like, that's how good it is. This film script just, the metaphors, it makes me speechless, right? People do not talk normal. If you ever watched the film Diner with, I forget the Barry Langston, I can't remember his name either. But the film Diner with Kevin Bacon and Mickey Rourke, there's one character that's obsessed with this film and only speaks in this film. So it's about Tony Kurtz, who's this ad guy, and he's trying to get in favor with Burt Lancaster, who's like this big time columnist. But at the same time, he's a scumbag, right? Burt Lancaster's a scumbag, and all Burt Lancaster wants is control his sister, but the sister is in love with his musician, and all this crazy stuff. I can't really tell you too much about it. You need to experience the film. Out of all these movies here today, you need to watch Sweet Smell of Success, Spine number 555. Watch it. When you speak of hard-boiled fiction, there's 3 writers you should think about. 1, Dashiell Hammett. 2, Raymond Chandler. 3, Mickey Spillane. And Mickey Spillane's detective was this guy named Jack Hammer. I already love the guy. And the best Jack Hammer adaptation is Kiss Me Deadly. This is a 1955 film, Spine number 568. This is about Jack Hammer stumbling on this girl who is on the run, and Jack Hammer is kind of this anti-hero, right? He's a detective like, the Sam Spade, but he is very rough. This is directed by Richard Aldrich, who later on does like The Longest Yard and stuff like this. But this guy, I forget who said it, but Richard Aldrich was kind of like the Martin Scorsese of the 1950s. And got a little softer as he went on, but this is probably my favorite film by him. Just some pop culture stuff. There's like this sound in it, like this alien sound. That later they use it, that same exact sound in Repo Man, which is also in the collection. And the case, there's a briefcase which you never learn what's in it, or you never see what's in it. inspiration for Pulp Fiction. So very inspiring film. You got Jack Hammer, and his apartment is almost like this futuristic apartment. He has all the latest gadgets, around. And he's the ladies love him, the men want to be him. He's a real hard-boiled detective. And I don't know if I'm selling this film right, but I love this film, and you should love it too. It's essential. If you're buying all the noirs for the Criterion Collection, this film is essential. Now, this is a film that I started talking about in my last Essential video. It's directed by one of the greatest directors of all time, and that is Mr. Stanley Kubrick, and that is the film in question is The Killing. Now, The Killing is based off of a novel of the same name, but it was co-written by Jim Thompson, who is the guy who wrote The Killer Inside Me, and a bunch of other hard-boiled, pulpy, mind of a criminal stories. And him and Kubrick kind of transformed that original novel into this kind of a heist epic. You have Sterling Hayden as this big professional thief getting this ragtag team of criminals, and they rob a horse race. And what I love about this film is how, first of all, the characters are phenomenal, right? But how Stanley Kubrick filmed like every section of it, right? You see the story through everybody's eyes. It's very meticulous, right? And you don't really see films a lot like that back then. It's very similar, talk about Quentin Tarantino again, the scene in Jackie Brown where you're at the mall and you see like the crime 3 times. I don't really want to talk too much about that, but it's very similar to that. And the end always leaves me heartbroken. Just leave it like that. Great film. I don't really need to talk much about it. Stanley Kubrick, you know it's great. Oh yeah, that was spine number 575. Another heist film classic by another film noir mainstay, John Huston. Debatably the creator of the genre with The Maltese Falcon. Debatably. I don't think it's debatable. I think he did. But this is not a detective film. This is not a Sam Spade film. This is Asphalt Jungle. Again, this is another heist film like The Killing, but came out several years before, about 6 years before, 1950. And this is my number 847. This is another heist film starring Sterling Hayden and a very young Marilyn Monroe. And this is pretty much Ocean's 11, but made in the 1950s. I won't tell you too much about the film, but I'll just tell you this. If you're a fan of Last Samurai, Melville takes a scene from this film and puts it in it verbatim. Now, if you don't know anything about this film, but you know about Last Samurai, you know how big this film is. And Melville loved John Huston. So, if you don't want to take my word for it, take his word for it. He's one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, along with John Huston, who's one of the greatest filmmakers and screenwriters of all time. The Dead's coming out sometimes next year. I can't wait for it. 1945. This is a grade A B film. Spy number 966. Detour. What do I love about this film? Well, it's only 69 minutes. I love that. Man does something wrong on accident and he suffers the consequences, right? You got this main character here who is a piano man. Oh, it's directed by Edgar G. Ulmer, who was kind of like the B grade John Ford. And you have this guy right here, beautiful cover by the way, who is a piano player. All he wants to do is California to see his fiancée girlfriend, but he gets stuck. He gets stuck with this woman who likes him, and they start doing some schemes together, and stuff happens. A very traditional film noir, very traditional B film, but Again, if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. I believe Christopher Nolan likes this film. So, and finally, and certainly not least, Spy Number 1078. This film has 2 versions of it in the Criterion Collection. And this is 1947. Film Nightmare Alley. Now, Guillermo del Toro's version is coming out soon, or is already out when you see this. I'm excited for that film myself. I love it. Bradley Cooper, amazing. And as much as del Toro says he's readapting the novel, I think he's a liar. Del Toro is adapting this film. This film stars Tyrone Power, a real-life alcoholic playing an alcoholic in the film, and he is a grifter, right? So he joins this circus to learn how to grift, and he learns all these skills, and then he takes these skills and tries to grift rich people, and then he takes that and takes it even further, saying he has these magical powers and all this stuff. This is noir to the core. This is black. The main character is as dark as it comes, and the ending is so haunting. If you've seen the ending to Guillermo del Toro, it's the same ending, which isn't the ending from the book. It's so haunting what Tyrone Powers says and does, and you know what a man would do just for a drop of liquor. It's sad. It's really sad and haunting, and it's a parable. You know, it teaches you, you know, a tale with this tragic ending. It's a tragedy. Nightmare Alley, deeply, highly underrated. You know, comes with these cards that I never look at, but it's neat to have. Yeah, this is an essential noir in the Criterion Collection. Well, here's the list, everybody. I'll repeat it again. Notorious, The Killers, Pick Up on South Street, Double Indemnity, Ace in the Hole, Sweet Smell of Success, Kiss Me Deadly, The Killing, Asphalt Jungle, Detour, and Nightmare Alley. I believe all these films are essential Criterions that all happen to be film noirs, which is one of my favorite genres. I'm working on a sequel to this video, which is going to be neo-noir, so check out that video when it comes out. But what are your essential noirs? And when I mean noirs, I should have established this in the beginning, but I'm going to establish it now. I mean these type of films, so dark theme, most likely dark ending films from 1941 to 1959. So anything after that is neo-noir. So please, you know, you can recommend something like Thief, but I'm looking for something like, you know, Glinda or something. What are the essential film noirs in the Criterion Collection that you think? So yeah, guys, that's the video. And if you didn't know this already, I'm Jack from Manelli Studio Entertainment, and I do a lot of videos on Criterion and physical media in general, films, comic books, TV shows, and I'm doing a lot of Criterion content in the month of November, so please subscribe or keep a close eye on my channel for some really cool recommendation. This is my second one so far this month. I did another essential video. If you haven't seen that, check that out. Just click this playlist here, and thank you for watching. I love you guys, and hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs button, comment your favorite film noir Criterion, and until next time, I'm Jack saying, watch more movies.